invite up to the stage now, to come and talk to us, one of the people that is in Michelle's network, who she works with through Women on Boards, and that is Ruth Med. Ruth, would you like to come forward in a moment, and I'll just do the introductions. Ruth is going to chat to us briefly about the importance of inspiration as a leader, which fits in very neatly, say, with mindful leadership. Ruth is chair of the Australian Ethical Superannuation Fund. She's executive chair of Women on Boards, Proprietary Limited, and a director of the National Foundation for Australian Women. She's been working in a career as a non-executive director since 2000. Her experiences to date have enabled her to contribute her finance and business management expertise, as well as her in-depth understanding of areas such as public policy, regulatory and business interface. And Ruth is a great builder of coalitions who influence issues in the national interest. She is Executive Director of the Australian Association of National Advertisers, and has held senior positions involving Telstra, the Australian Broadcasting Tribunal, and with the federal government. So I think she's a tad busy. But she's going to get our time tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Ruth Med.
Thank you, Chris. Some of those things were in the past, so I don't do them all at the moment. And thank you, Michelle, for inviting me to speak to you this evening. And thank you to Michelle for inviting me to be part of her book. So that is terrific. So I enjoyed being interviewed by Michelle. It was one of those days I rather let my hair down a bit. A raving lunatic on the paddock, so to speak. So the write-up that appears in the book is rather complimentary. Michelle did a good job renovating what I had said. But there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't present you with the other bits this evening. So this is the unrenovated bit. It's a bit like, flapping butterfly wings that change the climate somewhere far distant. So perhaps there's a bit of that this evening. I did, on the internet, as one always does, check up what an inspirational leader might be. And there's hordes of stuff, and I've no idea which of it is accurate or otherwise, but some of the elements did seem to be the ability to inspire people to reach great heights of performance and success, passion, purpose, listening and meaning, help make a leader inspirational, and the ability to communicate with passion, purpose and meaning. So, in my terms, because I'm a simple soul, I think that's got something to do with vision and mission and implementation. That's what I'm about, really. And so, this evening, I always get amused when I see the ability to communicate the passion. So we'll see if I can manage that this evening. But I always think about the two groups of people who stereotypically come to mind. There's in one corner is the marketing and sales department, and in the other corner, the actuaries. I sat next to an actuary at lunch the other day, and he actually was relatively normal. You have to understand I'm an accountant, at least I pretend to be now and again. So they're the next sort of scale up in the pecking order of intellectual precocity, in fact. So you do need to scale your passion up and down a bit, I rather think. But that's enough about inspiration. That's the extent of my learnings on the topic. So I thought really I'd talk about myself next, because after all, I'm really interesting. And remember, the issue of the butterfly wings that flap and change the world in another place is really to do with the limit conditions on partial differential equations, just in case you didn't realise that. So that might tell you a little bit about me, or it might not. My first career was in IT, and it was some time ago now, as you might have tweaked from my extensive CV. But to be a bit serious, when I was in the IT business, there was a dream that computers would revolutionise the world. And I signed on to that dream. And, you know, these days I'm really energised when I turn my computer on in the morning. Rather than electrocuting myself, it offers me a window to the world. So the butterflies have come home to roost, shall we say. And the point is that computers have revolutionised the world. And some things are better for it and some things not, perhaps. But I support the better. So we should never cease to marvel when you turn on your mobile phone. It is truly marvellous. It is the culmination of 40, 50, 60, 70 years of hard work. And it stems from, you know, the very famous Dr. Alan Turing and the other people who claim, you know, some credibility in the invention of the computing machine. So there we go. So back to women on boards. So I've done computing. That was some time ago. So I have the capacity to reflect upon it. And it's a good thing to do because in these days when there's not enough women in those professions, it's reasonable to mention it. Okay, believe it or not, Women on Boards was a nascent idea one afternoon when I had to solve a problem. And it's a pretty mundane problem. How could we run a fundraiser event when there were no available venues in Sydney during the Olympic year? And that was the case. So my little fundraiser that I used to stumble along and try and deliver a few dollars to a worthy organisation, notably the National Foundation for Australian Women, no venues, so we had to think of something else. So my colleague and I sat down and thought of something else. And by the way, as a subsidiary to running this event, we thought we'd attack the problem of the lack of women in leadership. Now that is a true story. So that's how Women on Boards was born. And that was 2000. So by 2014, WOB is a presence here in Australia, I hope. It's got 20,000 members. And we've facilitated, I think, many hundreds of women onto boards. And for good measure, we started a business in the UK after my colleague Claire Braun did her Churchill Fellowship on trends in women in leadership in countries such as Norway, UK and France. They are travelling fellowships, the Churchills, so if you like a tour, there's your opportunity. But my current mission is about systematically tipping the balance for women to enable society to reap the benefit of all our talents. And upon reflection, I think my time as a designer of computing systems, in fact, laid the groundwork to see the bigger picture and solve the big problem rather than the sort of more homegrown issues that affect our working lives and our family lives, etc., etc. So don't ask me to solve, you know, problems of women in difficult circumstances or men in difficult circumstances. There are other people far better able to do that. But if you want the problem solved of how to design a childcare system that actually delivers outcomes overall, then that's more my patch. So, I'm about creating change that enables women to achieve equality. So enough about the seriousness. Inspiration comes in many forms. Michelle is inspirational in her many ways. And congratulations, Michelle, on the launch of your book this evening.